Adrian Wojnarowski reporting Carmelo Anthony has permission from Oklahoma City to speak with other teams. Anthony and his reps reportedly met with the Rockets and the Heat recently at Summer League in Vegas. Melo will waive his no-trade clause to facilitate a trade to a team that will release him, or the Thunder will exercise the NBA's waive and stretch provision on Anthony. Brian Windhorst joining me now. Brian, we just heard that update from Woj, but take us through why the OKC Carmelo separation plan could be more complicated than meets the eye.
Yeah, so what you're getting here is both sides are giving each other something. Melo is now freed up to talk to other teams to arrange a place for him to land. And Melo, who has a no-trade clause, is allowing the Thunder to go find a place to trade for him. Here's the issue, though. At the end of the day, today, Melo is a toxic asset. And in order for you to trade him, you're going to either have to attach some goodies, draft picks or cash, which the Thunder don't want to do, or you're going to have to take back your own toxic asset or assets in return. So before you run to the trade machine and figure out how your team can trade for Carmelo Anthony, realize that the only way this trade would go through is if it's to one of Melo's preferred teams, or if that team instantly will release Carmelo Anthony. And that's a big thing to swallow because he's got a $28 million guaranteed salary for this season.
Hey, things seem to be really, really quiet surrounding the Spurs and Kawhi Leonard. What lies ahead next in this process as it plays out?
Yeah, so the next important thing is 2 weeks from tomorrow, Jay, and that is the Team USA training camp. There's a get-together in Las Vegas at the end of this month. The brand new head coach of Team USA, Greg Popovich, on the roster and expected to be there for training camp, or at least to meet with his new teammates, Kawhi Leonard. Now, in the past, we have seen players who are in stalemates with their teams be excused. Most recently, Kevin Love in 2014, when he had demanded a trade, he was excused. That said, this is an opportunity, if they could somehow get in the same room together, of Greg Popovich and Kawhi Leonard working together, possibly finding some way to move forward. At the end of the day, the Spurs are going to want to exhaust all options before they trade Kawhi Leonard. They have not exhausted all options yet. And even if this ultimately doesn't mean a connection and Kawhi begs off and doesn't come to Las Vegas, it's something that the Spurs are looking to see if they can create something to build on.
Okay, one more for you while I have you here. Sources tell ESPN the Rockets' initial offer to restricted free agent Clint Capella was in the 4 years, $60 million range. But he's looking for a $100 million contract, similar to the deal that Thunder big man Steven Adams received. What are the chances that the Rockets and Capella can close that gap a bit?
The problem here is both sides are being reasonable. Clint Capella is worth that $100 million deal that Steven Adams got a couple of years ago. But the Rockets look out there and see there's nobody left who can make him that offer. And the offer is, your market is what you can get out there on the open market, and he can't get that offer. And so the Rockets are playing hardball. It's hard to be a restricted free agent. It's really hard to be a restricted free agent in 2018 when there's not space out there. Capella really has two options here. He can take his qualifying offer, which would mean he would leave $15+ million on the table this year that he could earn, and then become an unrestricted free agent in a year. Or he could just hold out, waiting for the Rockets to come up with a higher offer. Maybe that's August, maybe it's October, maybe it's later. We've seen both weapons used. Neither one of them are good for this relationship, so hopefully there's a middle ground. But right now there's a lot of acrimony there. All
right, we'll keep watching that. Brian Windhorst, thank you for all that. Appreciate you, brother.
Center, LeBron is a Laker.
It gets you hyped and excited about the possibilities.
A seismic shift. He's a force of nature.
You got to give kudos to Magic Johnson.
He's not done trying to win.
That shared vision is what brought LeBron James to Los Angeles.
This is what the Lakers do.
Well, as Lakers head coach Luke Walton gets ready for next season, which now includes coaching LeBron James, Walton is getting help from someone who knows LeBron very well. His former head coach, Ty Lue. Walton was scheduled to meet today with Lue to talk about what it's like to coach the four-time league MVP. Dave McMenamin joins us now on SportsCenter. Dave, you were in contact with Lue last week. What kind of message did he intend to pass along to Luke about coaching the one and only LeBron?
Yeah, Tony, Ty wanted to get past all the noise that surrounds LeBron, where people think that he comes in and takes over your organization and he causes problems. And he's a problem for the front office and for the coach and for his teammates. Ty's message is, man, the guy's a blessing. And anyone who gets to be in his orbit, they're better at their job and they're better for that experience. And so he wants to go into this meeting with Luke Walton and say, embrace it. Don't be afraid of all the stuff that comes with it. That's just the noise. Ignore the media scrutiny because what LeBron brings to the table is really a blessing because he's one of the greatest basketball players of all time.
All right, so ignore us, the media. That's a pretty good one. All right, so what other roster moves are the Lakers planning to make to help LeBron with the adjustment from Cleveland to LA?
So, Tony, they have 14 guaranteed contracts right now. And, of course, we've known for weeks they've been pursuing this Kawhi Leonard trade. And that would involve sending out multiple pieces and perhaps taking back less pieces. And that could open up more roster spots. And, you know, there's a guy who played for the Cavs with LeBron James who lives in the South Bay out here in Los Angeles in the summertime. And he went to college with Luke Walton. That's Richard Jefferson. And that's someone who, you know, there's some interest on the Lakers' part if things shuffle out the right way, and they do have that open roster spot to bring him in, and he would be a guy who could bridge the gap if there ever one did exist over the course of a tough season. Richard could be that guy to kind of mend fences between Luke and LeBron.
Ooh, the fun continues for the Lakers. Far from over. There's Dave McMenamin with the insight. So let's hop on the SportsCenter Express for a look back at who's been at the helm for the King. In the first 2 seasons in the league, Paul Silas has led the Cavaliers. Cleveland missed the playoffs in each season, marking the only time a LeBron James-led team missed the postseason. Mike Brown then took over for the Cavaliers for the next 5 seasons, reaching the 2007 finals and winning Coach of the Year in 2009. LeBron then took his talents to South Beach, where Eric Spoelstra led him for the next 4 seasons. The duo won 2 NBA Finals together for the Heat. David Blatt was the head coach when the King returned to the Cavs ahead of the 2014-15 season with the promise of bringing a championship to Cleveland. In January of 2016, it was Ty Lue who took over for Blatt, led the Cavaliers to their lone title, and has been calling the plays for LeBron up until his recent departure to the Lakers.
Always buzzing, and the epicenter of the league happens to be a city without a team, Las Vegas. Scorings and signings sandwiched around the Summer League. Let's begin with the Suns locking up Devin Booker to a 5-year, $158 million deal over the weekend. He's 21 years old. He averaged nearly 25 points per game last year. Pair him with Ayton, you got a couple cornerstone pieces. The Suns have missed the playoffs 8 straight years. That might be ending. Booker's out in the West. The Bulls are not going to let Zach LaVine head back west himself. Matching an offer sheet by the Kings to keep him in Chi-Town to the tune of 4 years and $78 million. He said he's ready to, quote, wake up his doubters. Big thing with him, got to stay healthy. Chicago matching to keep LaVine. San Antonio not doing the same for Kyle Anderson, letting him walk to Memphis. 4 years, $37 million, and this is an upgrade for him. He'll likely be a starter on a Grizzlies team coming off a 22-win campaign. Now the Bucks won double that many last season. They're moving into a new arena, and they got a new big man, Brook Lopez, 1 year, 3.4, expected to be the starting center. He's become one of the better shooting big guys in the NBA, as evidenced by that triple wearing a Lakers uniform. And you mentioned, Tony, earlier, the names still out there to be had. Arguably none more important than Clint Capella and Marcus Smart. Both were key contributors in leading their teams to the conference finals. It is important to note that not many teams have the cap space to pry them away from their current teams. Let's make a deal, something our front office insider Bobby Marks did for 20 years. He joins us from the Summer League. Bobby, first things first, the Carmelo Anthony chatter. Once the extrication from OKC is complete, the Rockets are said to be in the mix. But when you owe a Brinks truck to Chris Paul and James Harden, how do you make that work financially?
Well, I don't think, Zubin, it should be about finances for Carmelo Anthony. He's already made $260 million in his career, and they do have the $5.3 million tax mid-level, or the minimum, which would be $2.4 million. So I think if there is a home for Carmelo in Houston, it would be for that minimum exception, which is at $2.4 million. I think the likelihood is that he gets stretched in Oklahoma City, and that $28 million contract gets stretched over 3 years here. So I don't think it's going to be about finances for Carmelo. It's going to be more about fit here.
Okay, if the fit works in Houston, he might be teammates with Clint Capella. And we know Capella was a critical piece, Bobby, of their 65-win team last season, top seed in the West. So what's the hang-up in getting him signed back to Houston?
Well, you're right. He is a critical piece, and restricted free agency is the hang-up. And what Houston has basically said to Clint Capella and his representatives is go out and get an offer sheet like Zach LaVine did over the weekend with Sacramento. The hard part is that there are no teams out there with cap spaces that is willing to give Capella an offer sheet. So we could be in a little bit of a standstill here. He's got a $4.3 million qualifying offer on the table. If he signs that, he would be an unrestricted free agent. That is something that Houston should not want to happen. I would hope that something gets soon here because, as you mentioned, he is a critical piece.
No question. You also mentioned that he's a restricted free agent, just like Marcus Smart. What are the financial ramifications for him in the Celtics right now, Bobby?
Well, the Celtics have some huge financial ramifications coming. He has another qualifying offer worth $6 million. But Zubin, they've got some finances coming up with Kyrie Irving, a free agent next year, Al Horford, a free agent, Terry Rozier, a restricted free agent, and where Smart's range is right now, he's looking for a contract in that $12 to $14 million range. I don't see that Boston will offer him that. But as I said before, there is no market for these restricted free agents to go out and get an offer sheet.
Right. Where's the leverage? There are those that think Smart fits best with the Celtics versus anybody else. So there is something there. That's the dollars and cents and the common sense of it all with our Bobby Bucks. That was the first overall pick, and first impressions have been pretty good for DeAndre Ayton. Went to college in the desert, playing well in another desert at the Summer League. Very small sample size, but averaging a double-double, shooting well from the field. Remember, he famously said he would be the #1 pick, showing that confidence, and it has manifested itself on the floor at the NBA Summer League. And that's where we find our Seth Greenberg. Great to have him on SportsCenter tonight. So Ayton, Bamba, Suns, Magic, 9:30 Eastern, right behind where Seth is. Coach, when you see these two take the floor together, what are you be looking for?
Well, when I think about DeAndre Ayton right now, I'm looking to see how hard he works for position, how aggressive he is going to the offensive glass. Will he run the floor consistently? He's been very good, but there's a process of understanding the NBA game, and one of the things, he's got to play lower to the ground. He's got to spread out and hold the spot. He's got to consistently go to the offensive glass, and then the Suns have got to figure out how to use him, how to get him the ball, and where he wants the basketball. And for Mo Bamba, to me, can flat out, he is a skilled big. He's not just the guy that's going to be in the dunker spot. Now, what I'm looking for, he's going to play back-to-back nights. That's going to be hard for him in this environment, in this heat. He's on a minute count. He'll only play about 20 minutes in this game. He was really good yesterday. Knocked down a three, ran the floor, was good in pick and rolls, an elite defender, but he's got to get stronger. How he handles the back-to-back and the physicality of Ayton, that'll be interesting to watch.
We'll watch it tonight at 9:30 Eastern. He's given himself the self-appointed nickname of Magic Mo. And speaking of Magic, Coach, magical start for Kevin Knox, the Kentucky kid at the Summer League, turning heads with some amazing dunks this weekend. When you watch him, Coach, what do you see?
I see an 18-year-old that's going to be a really good NBA player who can really score. I see a guy that's 6'9", that in high school he was a jump shooter at 6'9", a mid-range guy, a three-point shooter. And you know what? John Calipari got him to drive the ball. And when he drives the ball, his size, his strength, and has left him, he's been able to get to the basket and finish. Kevin Knox is an elite scorer, and he's going to be an elite scorer in the NBA for a long time. He's a guy that will complement Kristaps Porzingis. So when you look at the Knicks moving forward, they're going to have two front court players that are skilled and can play anywhere on the floor. Kevin Knox, the real deal. He might lead the NBA rookies in scoring. He might be this year's Jason Tatum.
Wow, that would be quite the comp. We'll keep an eye out for that. And this was Scott Perry's first draft pick as general manager of the Knicks. It appears as though he's off to a good start picking players. That's our Seth Greenberg at the NBA Summer League.